Oh, thanks a lot, Union. Now I got Lady Gaga stuck in my head. Alejandro, Alejandro, yeah. Alejandro Bedoya, Charlie Davies, both coming to the Union. Sebastian Letou got shipped out. Brian Wright is here. I'm Adrian. Thank you. Exciting proceedings going on with the Union.
Absolutely. Big news this week out of the Union camp. Somewhat unexpected because I think they've been in the market this year for a striker, and at least the fans have been clamoring for a striker, a central midfielder, and a left back. We still don't quite have the left back, but I don't think too many people saw the acquisition of Alejandro Bedoya coming this year. Definitely an interesting signing.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, obviously, the Union have been kind of dropping in the standings. They were first. Now they're down to fourth. They've been skidding a little bit. So maybe this could be a little bit of a panic move, whatever. But you can't deny Alejandro Bedoya is an exceptional talent. So, this is exciting because I'm just like a casual MLS fan, right? Because I don't like – I watch the European stuff. I like the international stuff. But MLS, like, it's tough for me to get into. But now, Alejandro Bedoya, I want to watch him play. I'm going to be DVRing these games. I'm going to be watching them. It's exciting, man.
Yeah. And you'll get your first chance to DVR. Possibly you'll get your first chance to see Alejandro Bedoya suit up in a Union shirt on Saturday when they play at DC United. But, yeah, I don't think it's a panic move, but I guess we'll get into that a little later. Definitely don't think it's a panic move by Ernie Stewart. The guy is a cold, calculating tactician when it comes to front office maneuvers. So I think there's definitely a plan. There's definitely a plan behind his workings rather than just say, oh, let's go get Bedoya. He's pretty good. There's something else there. But it's definitely exciting because everybody, even if you're not a big MLS fan, if you follow the U.S. national team even a little bit, you know who Alejandro Bedoya is and what he can bring to the team.
Yeah, I mean, maybe panic isn't the right word, but they were definitely trying to shake things up because, they were falling in the standings a little bit. And all of a sudden, I don't know who's behind them in the standings, but I know whoever's in seventh place is 4 points behind. So, losing ground in the standings. And now all of a sudden, this could kind of give them a boost moving forward. We shall see. So what does Bedoya bring to the table? Obviously, we knew they kind of needed to tighten things up in the midfield, right?
Yeah, he's one of the great things about Bedoya is he's very versatile. When I first saw that this was happening, I was a little bit perplexed at first because he doesn't generally like they needed to fill that number 8 central midfield defensive midfield spot that we've talked about endlessly on these shows since Vincent Nogueira left, and Bedoya certainly does that. But for his club team, his former club team now, FC Nantes in France, and for the U.S. national team, he has played pretty much wherever they ask him. He's played attacking midfield. He's played that number 8 spot. He's played on the wings. He's very good with the ball. He's very smart. He's not the quickest guy, but he makes decisions quickly, and he'll definitely help the Union midfield if they actually put him in the number 8 next to a Arnetta or a Brian Carroll because he closes off that gap in the middle between the forwards and the defense quickly, so the young defenders in the back don't have to work as hard.
Yeah, and the thing with him is he can play all these different positions because he's so smart. His understanding of the game is exceptional, and what he can do, what he's going to do, obviously he's going to tighten up the midfield. He provides options moving forward. He works hard defensively too, so he can do a bunch of different things. And I mean, we talked about Nogueira, like you said, he's out, and this, he fills right in. Now let's talk about what he said. This was something he said after the Copa America. And one of the reasons why he might have wanted to make the move here to the United States. So in an interview with the Soccer Today show on ESPN Radio in Dallas after the Copa America, Bedoya said he'd prefer to stay in Europe, but acknowledged that there were ongoing discussions about a move to MLS, motivated partly by the desire to raise his young son in the States. So obviously, whenever family's involved, family comes first. And although for his career, maybe staying overseas would have been better off. But, hey, we got him. Bedoya's here. And, no place like Philly to raise a kid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think there's obviously something more there than just money. If he's gonna, he wants to bring his family here. It was between, from what I've been hearing and reading, it was down to either the Union or Chicago. Now, I don't know too much about the suburbs of Chicago, but I know that the city of Chicago has an incredibly high murder rate. So you probably don't want to raise your family too close to there.
Not that Philly's any better.
It could be a slightly better, but just in the statistics categories. But no, I think Bedoya made the right choice, and also he's got friends on this team already in Maurice Edu and Charlie Davies, another one of the Union acquisitions from today.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. All right, so we're at, okay. Here's what they got. So Bedoya's move included a $1 million transfer fee, and he's going to receive an annual salary of $1 million. So Mark Stein was the first one that reported this on Monday, and Philadelphia obtained Bedoya's rights via trade with Chicago. Union, they had the top spot in the league's allocation order for returning MLS players and select U.S. internationals. So obviously they used this spot to acquire Bedoya. And in return, Chicago received both general and targeted allocation money, 2017 first-round pick, and discovery rights on a player whose name was not disclosed. So, some weird terminology there that nobody's going to understand. I don't understand.
So yeah, they certainly gave up a lot to get Bedoya, but he's as we discussed, he's probably worth it. I think he's worth it. The $1 million transfer fee is a club record for the Union. They've never gone that high on transfer fee. I don't believe they've ever had a player make higher than 400. No, Maurice Edu makes like 650,000. So they haven't had anybody. They haven't had anybody on their record, on their books, close to $1 million in salary. But so they're giving up general allocation money and targeted allocation money. And you may ask, what the hell is that? Most people would ask that question.
I don't fucking know.
General allocation money is basically a bunch of money that the league gives to the teams every year to use in their player dealings, to help pay down salary, to help pay for DP, for designated players. And then they also have targeted allocation money, which is every year for I believe it's the next three or four seasons, because it's 1 or 2 years old. The league will give each team $100,000 to use to sign players that are higher than a $450,000 mark. This is designed to incentivize the teams to try and go out and sign players that would cost between $450,000 and $1 million. So basically, the league is trying to incentivize teams to spend bigger, which is interesting because most teams don't do that. Like the salary cap in MLS is only $3 or $4 million, so they're trying to make sure that each team has a fair shot at getting a big name player or two.
Okay. All right, so Ernie Stewart, in a statement, here's what he had to say. We have laid out very specific goals for our club this season, and Alejandro adds the type of quality that can instantly guide us in achieving them. He's a tremendous player in the prime of his career, and we're thrilled to welcome him to the club. So Alejandro Bedoya is in Union. What's it? Gold and navy
blue and gold. Blue and gold. Navy blue and gold.
There you go, navy blue and gold. All right, so now let's talk about another acquisition. Charlie Davies comes to the Union as well from the New England Revolution for a 2018 first and third round pick. And, he's not even going to be starting. He's going to be coming off the bench.
Yeah, they gave up a decent haul to get Davies, but the premium on MLS super draft picks is not as high as other drafts. There's only a couple of rounds. A lot of times the MLS super draft picks don't become superstars. A few do, but it generally doesn't happen. So the fact that they gave up 2 draft picks for Davies, I'm not really concerned about that. He is going to provide depth for the strikers because right now they only have, if you include rookie Fabian Herbers, they have 3 strikers on the roster with CJ Sapong starting. CJ Sapong plays a very specific type of game, right? He does well. He's that target player. When they play direct, you lob it up to CJ Sapong. He holds the ball up while the wingers make runs off of him. That's a very specific style. So you need depth behind him so you can bring in Davies and you can bring in Herbers, who are very good with the ball, who aren't necessarily target guys, but who can run at defenders. So I think Davies has a very specific role, as Ernie Stewart had mentioned. They have a plan, bringing Davies in to fill a specific role.
There you go. So the other thing that happened, obviously, Sebastian Letou, he's gone now because of these moves that were made today. So, what are your thoughts on that? Because Letou was a guy that came back, and now he gets shipped off again.
See, this is the one I'm stoked about bringing in Bedoya, because their midfield with him in there is going to be absolutely stacked. I'm okay with Davies because you need forward depth, because CJ Sapong's going to run himself into the ground if he doesn't have any help. The problem becomes when you spend the general allocation money and the targeted allocation money, or Garber dollars, Garber bucks, as some people call them, for the commissioner of MLS, Don Garber. If you spend all that money to bring in these bigger name players, it's going to force you to have to get rid of somebody to try and recoup some of that money, which is unfortunate that it happened to be Sebastian Letou, because most casual Union fans know who he is.
I do.
Right, you know he's the player that most people identify with the Philadelphia Union. He scored a hat trick in the first home game of the season in their franchise history, which was played at the Link back in 2010 against DC United in the Link. 35,000 people. He scored a hat trick. So right then and there, he's kind of etched himself into Philadelphia sports lore. He leads the team in pretty much every offensive category there is. He's the all-time leading goal scorer in the history of the U.S. Open Cup, and he was beloved here because he was genuinely a good guy and gracious. If you've ever gone down to those games, after the games, the players all hang out and they come down and they walk over to the sidelines and take pictures with the families and stuff, and he was always doing that. So he genuinely liked being here. So it's unfortunate that the goofy mechanism that MLS uses to bring in big-name players essentially cost the Union their best-known player.
It's interesting you bring that up, because for the Levittown Patch, this was 5 years ago, I wrote a story. There was a local kid. He was 6, 7, 8 years old, and he was participating at the halftime event, right? And he actually won the thing. And when I did the piece, I asked him who his favorite player was, and he said Sebastian Letou. And the reason why was because after there was a game, and after the game, he was able, he talked to him and got an autograph, and he said Letou was just awesome, and ever since he was his favorite player. And to hear that kind of stuff come out of your mouth, I mean, it immediately brought me back to that kid. And this kid was actually really good. He murdered the competition at halftime, and so yeah, I got to be in the press box for a game. This was a game where I believe the Union won 3-2. This is when they still had oh God, what's his name? Danny Mwanga.
So that would have been 2010 or 2011.
Yeah, this is 5 years ago. So I mean, this was pre-Sports Network days, obviously.
Yeah.
And I was at the Sports Network for how long? 3-4 years. So yeah, that's what that comment reminded me of. Sebastian Letou, really, really stand-up dude.
Right, and from what I've seen of him, what I've read, he loves it here. He lived in the city. He was always gracious to be around the fans. When I went to that game in July, you wouldn't believe how many of the two jerseys were around.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate that the stupid mechanism, like I said, the stupid mechanism that MLS uses to get bigger name players to come, basically was caused Letou to be a cap casualty.
Mm. All right, so now let's talk about this, right? Because I'm more of the casual fan. You're more the hardcore fan. Now, moves like this is what brings casual fans to watching the games. Because you want to see Alejandro Bedoya play. You want to see Charlie Davies play. These are recognizable names. And we kind of talked about this on prior shows, how other teams have some of these stars. And we kind of don't. But now we do. So, we've talked about, Pirlo and Clint Dempsey and Zuzi and, all these other players on different teams, Michael Bradley. And now we have a couple.
Yeah. Zusi's an interesting case because Zusi's actually a homegrown guy. He's never played with any other club besides Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you look around the league, you've got Dempsey, you got Bradley, you got Altidore in Toronto, even though he kind of sucks now. You've got, a litany of big names in LA, Giovanni Dos Santos, Gerrard, Robbie Keane. So it's nice for the Union to be able to flex some financial weight and bring in a guy like Alejandro Bedoya, which is interesting because now you have, with Ernie Stewart in charge, they're actually able to go out and get that done. With Nick Sakevich in charge, the former CEO, they never really made – they attempted to make some big moves, but they either never sealed it down or they made the wrong big move, like a couple of years ago when they brought in Rice and Boli, who kicked butt at the World Cup in goal for Algeria, and then the Union signed him, and he was awful, and the team was the butt of goalkeeping jokes for the next 2 years because they had him, they had Zach McMath, then they went out and drafted Andre Blake. So you got 3 number 1 goalkeepers basically, and they couldn't figure out what to do with them.
Yeah. They also had Freddie Adu for a little while.
They did have. See, that one was interesting because that one was essentially under a different regime because you still had Sakevich as the CEO, but the front office had a little bit more structure because you had a president. You didn't have a GM because Sakevich was still running things, but you had Peter Novak as manager, and he managed Freddie Adu when he was 14, 15 when he was coming in with DC United. So they had a connection there. And Freddie Adu wasn't terrible with the Union. He just, I feel bad for Freddie Adu because you're never going to live up to the hype of like, hey, I'm going to be Pele when I'm 14 years old.
Yeah. Same thing kind of happened with Danny Almonte. Remember him?
Yes. Danny Almonte, the 14-year-old kid who was actually like 17.
Who wasn't actually 14. Yeah.
Who threw like 3 perfect games in the Little League World Series.
Yeah. So and here's what I'll say about this too. The MLS using that whatever the fuck the money is, targeted money and all that stuff, it's bringing U.S. players back to the U.S. and that's going to get people's attention. So this league is growing. They're doing the right things. And hey, maybe I'll start watching some games. It's really tough for me to get into it. I mean, sure, I might watch a Union game here or there, but it's tough. I mean, I'll watch like the All-Star game because they play like a European team. But other than that, like whatever. But now I'm not going to watch it live, but I will DVR it. I'll have my laptop on my stomach while I'm laying in my bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I will watch a game.
The All-Star game this year was actually a pretty decent game. We lost to Arsenal, but Andre Blake made a couple of big saves in goal.
There you go.
He started in goal for the MLS All-Stars.
Yeah, so
I think it's definitely going to be a big move here for the Union because as we stand here heading into August, they're in 4th place with 30 points. But if you look at that midfield now, you've got Barnetta, Bedoya, Maurice Edu if he comes back, Roland Alberg, Ilsinho, and Chris Pontius. That could be an MLS Cup winning and midfield.
Yeah, we shall see what happens. I mean, I would think that maybe it takes at least some time to kind of master tactics and all that stuff because it's new scheme and all that stuff. But once they get going, this could definitely be a very dangerous team come the postseason.
I think so. Jim Curtin's not exactly the greatest tactician because they play a 4-2-3-1, which kind of morphs into a 4-1-4-1 from time to time. But if you're looking at potential starting 11 with Bedoya in there, you obviously have Blake in goal. You've got Fabinho at left back, Yarrow or Tribbett at center back, Richie Marquez at the other center back, Keegan Roseberry at right back, and then if you go with the 4-2-3-1, I would go with you'd have Bedoya and possibly Brian Carroll. Yeah. So then you move Tranquilo Barnetta back up to the number 10 spot, and you'll have Ilsinho at right wing, and then Pontius on the left wing, and Sapong playing forward. That is certainly a good enough lineup that you can win the Eastern Conference.
There it is. There it is, and the East is definitely wide open.
They haven't won since July 9th, and they're only 6 points behind New York City FC for the top spot.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. I mean, so there you go. All right, so I guess this will be final thoughts time. We've basically covered all bases of all these moves. So anything else you got to say?
I think it's definitely a bit unexpected that they pulled off the move for Bedoya, but it's going to put some asses in the seats down there in Chester, and I think he's going to. I think he with the chemistry he's got with Charlie Davies and Maurice Edu, because him and Edu and Bedoya played together at Rangers in Scotland, and then Bedoya and Charlie Davies are both Boston College alums, and they're like best friends. So I think the fact that you already have some chemistry there will certainly help the Union to a late season push back up to the top of the conference here.
There it is. All right. As for me, I mean, well, guess what? I talked about the Union today on my Philly influencer Facebook Live video. So I got some Union talking. That doesn't happen often. So this is exciting. You know, I'll definitely be tuning into some games. I usually don't. So Alejandro Bedoya is going to make a difference. He definitely is. And the casual fan like me will tune in. So
7 o'clock on Saturday at Dumpy RFK Stadium.
Hey, if Bedoya plays, it doesn't matter what fucking stadium he's in.
There's a chance. I wouldn't say.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it would be too soon, but.
Well, somebody asked Curtin about that in the press conference, and he basically told him he wouldn't rule it out. So I would say that's probably 50-50.
Yeah, that's kind of how I would read into it. All right, for Brian Wright, I'm Adrian Fedq. Let us know what your thoughts are below about the moves made by the Union. Do you want? Well, obviously, I would think you'd want Alejandro Bedoya on your team, but all right. So here's what I want to know: how excited are you? Do you think that these moves could help the Union in the postseason to help them win an MLS Cup? So let us know in the comment section below. Again, for Brian Wright, I'm Adrian Fedq. We are out. Later.
See you.